economic recovery, it is important for us to transform the way we operate, socialize, produce, and consume resources. In this scenario, a transition to a circular economy is both a necessity and an opportunity, with the potential to offer long-lasting economic, environmental, and social benefits. FICCI established the Circular Economy Desk in 2017 with an objective to mainstream the concept in India through policy advocacy, thought leadership, capacity building programs, and research services. Considering the importance of the subject, this year we constituted the National Circular Economic Committee, and with Mr. Anirban Ghosh as our chair and other members who are supporting us for last 3 years as part of the working group also joining, and with some new members. This symposium is created and curated and structured under the collective guidance of the committee, and we hope that you will find the deliberation engaging and action oriented. With this background, for the inaugural session, we are joined by Honorable Excellency Mr. Ugo Astuto, EU Ambassador to India, Mr. Anirban Ghosh, Chair FICCI National Circular Economic Committee and Chief Sustainability Officer Mahindra Group, Mr. William Ujjan, Executive Director Supply Chain Hindustan Unilever, Mr. Janardanan Ramanujalu, Vice President Regional Head South Asia and Australia SABIC, and Mr. Dilip Shenoy, Secretary General FICCI. And of course, Mr. Kant, CEO Niti Aayog, has sent a video message. He will also be part of this panel. He is unable to join the session due to some exigency incurred at the last moment. We got the message yesterday night only. So with this background, I now request our Secretary General, Mr. Dilip Shenoy, to formally deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you, Mrityunjay, and good afternoon, everyone. His Excellency, Mr. Ugo Astuto, Ambassador to the EU to India, Mr. Anirban Ghosh, Chair, FICCI National Committee on Circular Economy, and Chief Sustainability Officer, Mahindra Group, Mr. Janardan, Regional Head, South and South Asia and Australia, SABIC, my colleagues there, Mr. William Ujjan, Executive Director, Supply Chain, Hindustan Unilever. Mrityunjay, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon, and we hope that you are all keeping well and keeping safe. I would like to actually, first of all, compliment the committee and the team on continuing to focus on this great important subject of circular economy. I've been very fortunate to have been part of most of the activities since its inception, and I believe that each year we actually take it to a greater level and with greater depth, and of course sharing best practices. The circular economy provides huge opportunities, especially for the business sector and the society at large. Much of it is unknown today. It is perhaps most companies' best kept secrets. I'm just taking a tagline from Orissa as they promote their tourism. But it is possible to generate new kinds of sustainable businesses and consumer experiences going forward. FICCI, we would like to play a small role in catalyzing industry and institutions to take this effort. We try and continue this catalytic process by getting people across cross-cutting collaborations and partnerships within government, industry, and multilaterals. We are indeed, it's a pleasure to have with us this afternoon His Excellency, the EU Ambassador to India. A very, very special welcome and a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining with us this afternoon. Also, a very special welcome to Mr. William Ujjan, Executive Director, Supply Chain, Hindustan Unilever. Your industry keynote address would be very significant as we go forward. To Mr. Janardanan, thank you for joining in. You're going to give a different perspective from industry, and we look forward to your address later this afternoon. Each one of you at the call and on this webinar is leading by example, and so is our chair, Mr. Ghosh, who not only leads, is the Chief Sustainability Officer in Mahindra & Mahindra, but has been a very source of inspiration and guidance to all of us in FICCI in taking this forward. I believe that this provides a huge opportunity for all of us. We just have to go out there, understand, and take this opportunity, and especially now in this COVID scenario, it creates greater importance because there's a lot more happening and we need to look at sustainability across many more dimensions. Once again, I welcome all the delegates to the conference, the speakers on both the days, and thank you for being part of this event. Have a great 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip, for setting the context. I could see Vishwesh Prabhakar from Accenture, Managing Director, Accenture Strategy, has also joined. Welcome, Vishwesh, for the session. May I now request our chair, Mr. Anirban Ghosh, to deliver the theme address.
Thank you, Mrityunjay. As I was thinking about beginning this conversation, somehow the words dignitaries on the dais seemed particularly inappropriate because we don't have a dais anymore. But welcome everybody to this conversation. We're looking forward to your remarks. Thanks to all of you for joining us in this inaugural session of the Circular Economy Symposium. If this is the first time you've joined FICCI for one of these online conferences, you've possibly already experienced the platform and the difference in the platform in the way you enter and the way you come to the hall and so on. And I'm hoping that this is not the only difference that you will experience as you participate in the Circular Economy Symposium. Some of you may have had the opportunity to have participated in the masterclass that happened yesterday, coordinated by Dr. Prasad Modak. It was a very, very interesting conversation. All those of you who have participated would have learned a lot about how to make circular economy happen. That is the theme that we will carry forward in the 11 conversations that will happen today and tomorrow in the 2 half days that are scheduled. In each session, we would like to leave you with ideas on how to take circular economy forward in your place of work and in your place of life. And if you leave this conference with at least 1 or 2 doable things, then we would think that this conversation was worth it. Having said that, I would invite you to participate through the question answer sessions and through all the other ways in which we will try to engage you and make this Circular Economy Symposium as successful as you've helped make the previous ones, if not more. During the masterclass, there was a term that emerged, which I must share with you. And the term is infinitely recyclable. One of our participants, one of our speakers, mentioned that plastic is infinitely recyclable. I remember hearing the same term in another conversation on lithium-ion batteries. And personally, I've used that term for water. It seems that the number of things that may perhaps be infinitely recyclable is increasing, or at least we are realizing that there is lots that is infinitely recyclable. I hope these 3 are not the only ones and that we will discover many more. And that will then give us an opportunity to accelerate the work of circular economy in the places where we live and in the places where we work. The world, of course, will be very different going forward in 10 years or 15 years' time. I don't have to tell you that. But all I wish is that circular economy be one of the aspects on which the world is different in a good way 10 years from now. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us, and do enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, for setting the context. May I now request Mr. Willem Ujjan, Executive Director, Supply Chain, Hindustan Unilever, to share the industry perspective.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry that I seem to be having some problems with my video here from my end, because it doesn't seem to start, but I hope you are able to hear me. First of all, good afternoon from everyone. It's a pleasure listening to the eminent speakers today on this platform. And what we're discussing here today is a journey that we're all into, and for which each and every one of us have a role to play. Now, I work for Unilever, where our purpose is to make sustainable living commonplace. And we believe that this is the best and, in reality, our only way to ensure long-term growth for our company. Now, reducing waste is a critical issue globally, and we are therefore committed to taking responsibility for the plastic waste that we use and to play our part in creating a waste-free world. We at Unilever do believe that plastics has its place, but that place is not in our streets, in our rivers, or in our oceans. However, it is a very valuable material when used responsibly. Plastic is often the most safe and the most efficient way to get products to the people that need them, but not at the expense of the environment. And that is why our approach to plastics is aligned to the principles of the circular economy. Now, at Unilever, we have made some ambitious commitments to achieve by 2025. The first, what we have committed to, is to halve the amount of virgin plastics that we use in our packaging, and an absolute reduction of over 100,000 tons in plastic use by 2025. Secondly, we have committed to help and collect and process more plastic packaging than that we sell in each of our markets. And thirdly, we have committed to ensure that 100% of our plastic packaging will be designed to be fully reusable, recyclable, or compostable by 2025. And lastly, that we would increase the use of post-consumer recycled plastic PCR material in our packaging to at least 25%. Now, what does that mean for India, for Hindustan Unilever Limited, where I work today? So allow me to tell you something more about our progress on the ground here. Because as one of the biggest fast-moving consumer goods companies in India, whose brands are being used by 9 out of 10 Indian households, we have a responsibility to bring about a positive change. And our aim is to make sure that we keep plastics within the circular economy and out of the environment. And in order to do that, we work with the framework of less plastic, better plastic, and no plastic. That helps us to achieve our commitments. Now, less plastic refers to cutting down how much we use in the first place by working with our partners and looking at new ways to produce packaging and use less plastic in these. Better plastics refers to making our packaging recyclable and eliminating the problematics of plastic material in the first place. And thirdly, no plastic is about the use of alternative materials that attack the waste problem, but at the same time that we deliver a positive contribution to our carbon agenda as well. Now, since 2018, we have facilitated the safe disposal of over 1 lakh ton of post-consumer plastics through laminate waste. And despite the current context of COVID-19, we stepped up our efforts for plastic litter elimination. We have already facilitated environment-friendly disposal of over more plastic by August in this year, in 2020, than we did the entire year of 2019. Now, we could have never done that alone, because we did this really with the help of the collection and disposal partners that we work with in over 100 towns across India, in 30 states and union territories. We have partnered with agencies for the collection of material from housing societies, from institutions, from garbage dumps, from the associations of rag pickers, and also the waste to energy companies, as well as cement manufacturers for the environmental friendly energy recovery and the disposal of these plastics. We have eliminated plastic coatings from our soap cartons, and we're using material that is recyclable in our shampoo sachets as well. We're one of the first organizations to use post-consumer use recycled plastics, or PCR, in our packaging. And last year, we implemented our Vim liquid bottles, for example, with 50% recycled PET. The Tresemme and Sunsilk black shampoo bottles use today 25% of recycled HDPE. And we incorporated over 25% of recycled HDPE in our laundry liquid bottles as well. Now, none of this would be possible without the right partnerships in place. And we have partnered with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, to initiate end-to-end plastic waste management programs by setting up material recovery facilities called Swachhta Kendras. And the program aims to promote sustainable plastic waste management right from collection of waste at source to the segregation and safe disposal and improving livelihoods of Safai Satis, the informal waste pickers. Now, currently, the program is being implemented in 3 wards in Mumbai, in K East, in Andheri East, in Bandra West, and in R North, in Dahisar. And so far, the project has reached out to over 33,000 households for the collecting of segregating dry waste, which has resulted in the collection of over 2,500 tons of plastic waste. Now, it has onboarded over 500 Safai Satis and opened bank accounts for over 100 Safai Satis to enable financial inclusion. Additionally, this has helped us as well to improve with our partners their working conditions, the skills, and empower people to bring dignity and inclusion to their livelihoods. Now, HUL is also a founding partner of the India 2022 coalition, catalyzed by Cintio, to support the government of India's development goals in critical areas such as waste management. The work on waste management under the Waste to Value Impact Track, as we lead that from HUL, is focused on the testing and the scaling of sustainable models of circularity for plastic waste. And this involves increasing awareness to improving segregation at source and the establishment of robust collection infrastructure at the local level. And some of the key projects we drive in partnerships with Cintio are the driving of behavior of change in schools, homes and communities. We have signed an MOU with the Education Department of Maharashtra government for rolling out the Waste No More curriculum across state board schools to drive behavior among school children. Last year it was launched across 1,550 schools in Kolhapur and in the Nasik district with the aim to reach over 80,000 students. Now, Waste No More, the curriculum, is currently uploaded on Diksha as part of the summer camp initiative. And the content has received over 80,000 views in over 4 weeks, just in the month of May of this year. Now, also, through our continuous intervention in housing societies in Dahisar in Mumbai, we have been able to drive behavior change in a larger program. One of the examples that I wanted to mention, as well as the partnerships that we have done with Cintio, is the end-to-end waste management. Through our partnership in Mumbai D Ward, we have started a pilot project along with SBI, MCGM, and the Dalmia Poly Pro. This project aims to establish an end-to-end waste management system that ensures circularity through behavioral change, segregation at source, and the collection and safe disposal of plastics. Now, summing this up, our dream of a waste-free world can become the reality, we believe, that when all partners come together and join hands, when we replicate and scale some of the models as I just mentioned, and ensure that no waste is leaked into our environment. And in the end, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we merely borrow it from our children. Therefore, let's all join hands in closing the loop on plastics, and let's make sure that our blue planet becomes whole again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Willem, for sharing a very inspiring story of HUL. May I now request Mr. Janardhanan to share the perspective from his side. Just.
So, good afternoon, fellow panelists, His Excellency, Mr. Astuto, and all the participants. The impact of climate change can no longer be ignored, actually. The World Economic Forum, again in the 2020 risk report, listed the climate change threat to climate and climate change is one of the highest risks. And we all know that the challenges for sustainability is only going to increase with the increasing population exerting even higher pressure on the very scarce natural resources. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and COP21, both in 2015, have been underlining need for sustainable development and climate change prevention actions. Both indicate the need for a very systematic shift from a very linear way of consumption of materials to a climate neutral circular economy. Driving circular economy, which is based on principle of decoupling the economic growth from the use of natural resources and its environmental impact, becomes extremely new. But circularity is not new. It has been in practice. The only question is, what is the scale and to what extent can we develop that? There are many drivers, and I'm going to just pick a few of them as an example. If you take economic viability, paper, steel, aluminum, copper kind of materials are already into this circular loop just because they're viable, there is value in doing this. So it's happening to a very great extent, and there's no need to give it a push actually to happen. Then the next major driver, especially in developing countries, is actually cheap labor, which is driven by poverty, which has been handling many of the recycling topics, which is otherwise has no economic viability. Scarcity is another driver. You know that zero discharge is already a fact. STP water is being recycled already. Dr. Ghosh mentioned it, is already a fact. We also know that rare earth materials, which is available in all our electronics, has great value, and we don't need a push to get them into this circular loop. Recyclability itself is a key issue. The standard PET bottles in water and carbonated drinks can all very easily recycle into polyester, and that's happening to a very great extent already, because that's a simplicity which is built into a single application. Advanced technology, for instance, pyrolysis, can bring chemical recycling into many of the chemical molecules. Consumer demand is also a driver. You know that many companies are now wanting to use only recycled paper. We have a famous example of a motorcycle made in India from one of our warships, recycled steel. There are regulatory requirements. There are government nationally determined emission levels, company strategies, United Nations sustainable. All of these are drivers towards that. Finally, I can't leave out, right from the renewables and the agri-waste. There is a very big scope for, and much of it is not happening in the agri-waste today, but it's happening. So apart from all of this, what is the industry doing? I think Willem mentioned a lot of initiatives from this company. There's World Business Council as a sustainable development group, which is focused on this across industries. And then there is an Alliance to End Plastic Waste. Companies with a total revenue scope of $2.5 billion have come together to work together across the value chain to make sure that the plastic waste can be put into a proper circular way, and then we will end the waste as such from the plastic point of view. Those are the very big initiatives which are happening and the drivers which are taking place. As the world itself looks to recover from both the pandemic as well as from the economic dive we took, people are coming up with new ways of making things work, and we will have new trends in the way we produce, distribute, consume, purchase, and even dispose things. This in itself will contribute substantially of the recovery itself being much more greener than what we used to do before. The Indian government itself has done much, and there's actually much headway in driving sustainable development activities by pointing towards environment-friendly technologies, by pointing towards promotion of renewable energy in its policies, better management of plastic waste policies. Our India's nationally determined emission levels is actually a very significant commitment for a developing country. It envisages adoption of advanced technologies, but also a lot of sacrifices. Very briefly, on a one line, Europe has had a lead in embracing circular economy. Since His Excellency Astito is going to be speaking about it, I just want to summarize a one-line statement. They have delivered on more than 50 actions ranging from new legislation, waste management of plastics, strategy on plastics, all this coming from the 2015 action plan. Coming to the industry from which I come from, chemical sector is not only reducing its own emissions and energy intensity levels, but also is contributing as a member to and enabler to the circular economy among many other industries, not only by creating products and materials, but also participating in those reduction of waste and emissions. Chemical industry has a very critical role to realize more than half of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We as a company, for SABIC as an instance, we announced certified circular polymers. It means those polymers which are chemically recycled. Feedstock is being produced from a waste of plastics which cannot be used in any other purpose, and the oil which is recovered is fed into this loop. SABIC has also led the world by one of the first large-scale plants which captures 500,000 tons of carbon dioxide, purifies it and reuses it into the chemical value chain. Many don't realize carbon is a very valuable molecule, element. It is only with a CO2 form, it is not good for the earth, but C itself, if you mix it with hydrogen, hydrocarbon is a very, very valuable molecule. The post-COVID era, I think Willem spoke a lot about plastics. We also need to address the notion of the world accepting plastics and recognize its critical role in saving lives as seen during the pandemic. But at the same time, looking to extend lifespan of spare plastics by repurposing, recycling, reducing waste, responsible disposal needs businesses, governments, and common citizens to come together for sustainable solutions. Coming to the conclusion, finally, innovations in the chemical industry are capable of recycling a product back to its molecules and redirect it into another engineered molecule. This is a three-dimensional loop. This is not a single-dimensional, two-dimensional loop we are talking about. And this three-dimensional loop requires focused and consistent collaboration across value chains of many industries to make a significant impact. Optimizing the whole system, not just the individual circles in our systems, will eventually lead to what I would like to call the spherical economy. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Janardhanan, for the useful insights. May I now request Honorable Excellency, Mr. Ugo to share his views.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. A big thank you to Vicky for inviting me at this circular economy symposium. Actually, my task is made easier, but the previous speakers who have set pretty well the picture when it comes to the importance of circular economy. Resource efficiency and circular economy are among the most crucial issues for the future of societies worldwide in an increasingly resource-constrained world. Resources are scarce and already used beyond sustainable levels. So without significant improvements in resource efficiency, it will be nearly impossible to meet the goals set in Paris, in the Paris Agreement against climate change, or to achieve a new global framework to preserve biodiversity. So our own survival depends on resource efficiency. But we can turn the challenge into an opportunity. We can do so by driving down costs and boosting competitiveness, by stimulating technological innovation and creating jobs through more sustainable production methods and consumption patterns. Smart use of resources requires new ways to reduce inputs, to optimize production and logistics, and to minimize waste. In short, what we need to develop is a new paradigm, a new economic paradigm centered on sustainability. Well, in Europe, we have been trying to do that. Actually, we already in 2015, the European Commission adopted a circular economy package centered on sustainability with a concrete program of actions and a timeline for implementation. A new circular economy plan was then published last March to foster this transformational change. change. And the plan sets out a strong and coherent framework that will make sustainable products, sustainable services and business the norm, not the exception, while transforming consumption patterns so that no waste is produced in the first place, as previous speakers said so eloquently. The circular economy is also a pillar of the European Green Deal. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. The European Green Deal sets a target for Europe to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. We want to decouple economic growth from the unsustainable use of resources. We want to work for the green, digital, and resilient future. But if we want to achieve our objectives, we need to work together globally. And for Europe, for the European Union, it's particularly important that we work with friends and partners such as India. So they recently adopted the EU-India Joint Declaration on Resource Efficiency and Circular Economy. Is a good case in point, I believe. It underlines the commitment of India and the European Union to work together in research, innovation, in finance, in digitization. All these factors are indispensable for the development of sustainable business models. International cooperation is required at many levels. Actually, a global transition to a more circular economy would benefit, for instance, from the development of and soft harmonization of global standards. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, when countries around the globe are working towards a greener recovery, convergence and collaboration between the EU and India is ever more relevant, because together we can shape the global agenda for the better. I'm happy to say that since 2017, the European Union has been partnering with India under the Resource Efficiency Initiative. And concrete inputs already delivered, included the release of India's resource efficiency strategy by Niti Aayog back in 2017, the draft National Resource Efficiency Policy published by the Ministry of Environment in 2019, and finally the strategy for fostering resource efficiency and circular economy developed by the government of Goa and issued in February this year. So let me thank here the government of India, Niti Aayog, the Ministry of Environment and other ministries, as well as the private sector and industrial associations like FICCI for prioritizing actions towards resource efficiency and the circular economy. Because this is a challenge that requires multi-stakeholder partnerships. In the coming month, we will jointly implement the EU-India Joint Declaration, and we will strive to bring together ideas, expertise, and goodwill from both India and the European Union to drive global change. And in order to do so, we will need suggestions and inputs from all stakeholders. Therefore, I'm glad to conclude that initiatives such as this forum are particularly timely and welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Astuto, for the importance of partnership and collaboration. May I now request my colleague team to share the video message from Mr. Kant.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to participate in this symposium organized by FICCI on circular economy. This symposium is critical because we need to bring sustainability of resource use at the forefront of developmental path. COVID-19 is a great reminder to the vulnerabilities built into the present system. The world is increasingly becoming conscious to the pattern and efficiency of resource usage. The convergence of different disciplines, industrial, ecology, environmental, sustainability, sustainable production, end-of-life management of products, intergenerational equity have all evolved to an overarching vision of circular economy. The material are built in Indian culture and given a spiritual dimension. But imbibing of these ethos in the economic systems has to be a dominant theme of India's developmental path. The green recovery post-COVID would not just help us to tackle environmental challenges like climate change, it would also help economic recovery through creation of jobs and opportunities. Within circular economy, material recycling offers a paradigm shift from the conventional recycling techniques of incineration and landfilling by transforming EOL products, scraps and waste into useful raw materials to be fed back to the economy instead of being disposed in landfills, etc. The recycling industry is closely integrated in different commodity sectors driven by basic supply and demand. The economic significance of metal recycling is firmly established. The material recycling is one of the building blocks of resource-efficient circular economy. Many countries have enunciated a way forward towards promoting the circular economy through organized recycling to achieve sustainable development. Scrap materials are not waste. Recyclable material is a resource. They have a critical role in economy and sustainable development. You look around from managing plastic, waste continue to be a challenge. And within the plastic segment, the management of multi-layered plastic is a challenge. Domestic consumption of about 15 million tons. The estimated recycling capacity is just about 2.35 million. Therefore, recycling continues to be in the informal and unregistered units. Low household segregation and weak collection and transportation system that support the source segregation inhibit the recycling of plastics. And high plastic recycling rates need to be achieved in an environmentally sound manner. Recently, the Ministry of Environment issued a uniform framework for EPR to implement the provisions under the Plastic Rules of 2016. A joint research conducted by Accenture Strategy and FICCI titled Sustainable Plastics Packaging in India is being released today. It has found out that in India we consume around 10 million tons of plastic packaging each year. That amounts to around $13 billion in value. However, currently we are capturing only a fraction of this value due to a number of reasons like poor packaging design, low waste collection, inefficient recycling, among others. If the current state of affairs continue, in the next 10 years, we'll be losing an estimated, just imagine, an estimated $133 billion. This paper presents an approach to capture 100 billion of this loss through 8 high-value interventions. To realize this value, we must take a holistic value chain approach, from reducing consumption and designing better packaging to reusing as much as we can, and finally collecting and recycling better once the packaging is wasted. Ladies and gentlemen, this report on circular economy is critical, and I'm delighted that FICCI has brought this report and taken it centerfold. I would like to congratulate FICCI on this unique initiative, and I wish this report all success. We in Niti Aayog will be very, very happy to take this forward. FICCI has been doing a commendable job in the circular economy space, and this being the 4th year, I'm delighted to be a part of it. The need is to develop an integration of perspective, and the conference will be playing this very critical and significant role. Niti Aayog has endorsed this initiative, and I wish this 2 days conference all the very best and all success. We look forward to the recommendations which we'll take forward for implementation at the grassroots level. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. It is always inspiring to listen to Mr. Kant, and we, as a Wiki National CE committee, will definitely take it all the recommendations that we collect during the deliberation during the symposium. We will send back and we'll submit that. Considering the limitation of the virtual platform, our team has prepared a small clip for the release of the video. May I request team to share that video, to play that video to release the report formally. Thank you. May I now request Vishwesh Prabhakar, Managing Director, Accenture, to share some key insights from the report.
Thank you, Mrityunjay. Ashish, could you pull up the presentation, please?
Yeah, sure.
While the presentation, I can't help but comment that after a speech like Mr. Kant's, what I'm missing is the applause.
I couldn't agree with you, Anirban.
$20 million per year. Also, 3 new washing plants with also to the capacity.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shenoy, Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Janardhanan, Ambassador Astute, and other delegates from industry, government, and private sectors. We at Accenture, a company of about 500,000 people in 120 countries, strive to be a responsible business by design. And in that stead, we have been collaborating with Wiki as a knowledge partner for the last 3 years, and it has been a very productive partnership. Ashish, if you can move to the next slide. In 2018, we focused on overall circular economy opportunity in India, wherein we found a 500 billion opportunity by 2030. We continued that narrative in 2019, and we focused on the circular economy of plastics. And we are pleased and privileged to continue that work and present to you the third report in this series, which is Strategies for Sustainable Plastic Packaging in India. It is one of the most material issues for several sectors such as FMCG, chemicals, waste management, and recycling, and a policy priority for Indian government. And now more than ever, given the new environment of working, where most of us are living and working virtually, and most of our goods are being ordered online, the level of packaging which we are consuming and possibly wasting and not recycling has gone up considerably, as we can notice in our individual lives. What I'll do, ladies and gentlemen, is over the next 3-4 minutes, share with you the key findings of this report. Please move on. In this report, we actually took a very database and analytics-led approach wherein we leveraged the Accenture expertise, the FICCI expertise, as well as the industry expertise to essentially do a quantitative 10-year period from 2020 to 2030, And we identified about US $183 billion by value and 140 million tons by volume of materials will be put in market in the next decade. Of that, only 50 billion worth of materials will be recovered in business as usual scenario. That is, if we continue to be on the same path, we are almost $133 billion will be lost across three primary channels. One is not collecting or recycling appropriately. Second is in thermal recovery, such as waste to energy or co-processing in cement plants. And finally, downcycling or open recycling. So this was essentially a very big opportunity, and we asked ourselves the question that if the opportunity is so large, then what are possibly the solution themes to address this opportunity, and what are the quantitative business case around that theme? So if we move to the next slide, we found out that almost $133 billion of material loss can be reduced to $33 billion, which is an opportunity of about $100 billion in the next 10 years to a holistic value chain approach. We provided a strategic lens primarily through 8 interventions across 3 key levers, starting from upstream packaging production and filling to retail and consumer use, and collection and recycling. In India, as has been discussed in the past and our interactions with various experts, focus so far has been on post-consumer collection, which is lever 3 in this slide. But one of the key contributions of this paper is to shift to focus on the other 2 levers, which are essentially in the earlier stage of the value chain. And if we were to rank these interventions on their impact potential, removal of single-use plastic is the biggest impact. Second is expansion of secondary material markets and an effective EPR responsibility implementation. And lastly, I cannot but overemphasize the importance and the role of change of consumer behavior at an individual level in terms of our attitudes to plastic waste management and managing it in our lives on a daily basis. Through this analysis, we essentially tried to build a very quantitative business case for change. Now, given this quantitative business case for change, as has been discussed by other delegates at this earlier, a partnership-based approach is required. And if we move to the next slide, and these 8 interventions cannot be taken up in isolation. What we actually need is an ecosystem level approach where companies continue to work on their individual targets, but at the same time, they join hands with government as well as civil society to kind of drive a change at scale. There are many priorities around the sustainable transformation roadmap, but we have identified these 5, which we call the system level accelerators. Each of these accelerators will require industry, government, and the non-profit sectors to contribute to drive change. So ladies and gentlemen, I would once again highlight that we at Accenture have been privileged to work with FICCI and industry leaders for the last 3 years on this report, and we are very glad to be part of this launch today. I hope you enjoy reading the paper, and in case you want to discuss more, please do reach out to the FICCI team, and we'll actually be happy to share more details. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishwesh. Thanks a lot for sharing the summary of this report. And I also take this opportunity to thank Sandeep, with whom we have worked so closely, being part of the committee also. Thank you, Sandeep, for all this support in the last 6-7 months that we worked together. So with that, we come to the end, and we again we thank all the panelists for the thought-provoking address. We are sure that the speakers lined up today and tomorrow are going to further deep dive into the points that are being made today. I take this opportunity to appreciate the hard work and the endless hours invested in putting together the program that we are all part of. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to the National Circular Economy Committee members for their continued guidance, and Chair Mr. Anirban Ghosh, under whose leadership we have been able to do work in this space, beginning with the first edition back in 2017. Gratitude to all of you to go an extra mile to build up the concept and being available even at odd hours at this. And all the support has been very magnificent. We express our sincere gratitude to Ministry of Environment and Forest, Climate Change and Niti Aayog for endorsing the conference. I also sincerely express my sincere thanks to our Secretary General, Mr. Dilip Chenoy, under whose leadership we have been able to position FICCI as a facilitator in transitioning towards a circular economy. A special thanks to Accenture team for working hard with us, carving out a knowledge paper on national importance, and supporting us in working towards creation of knowledge repository, accessible to all. We extend our sincere appreciation to all our partners who have supported for this symposium. Thank you in advance to all our technical chairs for both days. Special thank you to all our speakers and presenters. And thank you all delegates for joining us. We look forward to remain in touch for next 2 days, even beyond that. And lastly, not the least, but let me also thank my team members, Ashish, supported by Deepa, Nimisha, and others to make this symposium possible in a record time. Thank you so much. We will be starting the next session at sharp at 2:45, and the knowledge paper would also be made available on the FICCI website, FICCI CES website in some times now. So all of you can download that knowledge paper and look at that, read that material. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, everyone. Please join us for the next session at 2:45. Thank you.
MK, do we have to go to a different link?
Yes, sir.
Okay.